Well, greetings to everybody there at Brazos Meadows. What a great accomplishment. 25 years. It doesn't seem possible that it's been 25 years since spring of '88 when Mike Toby called me and said Woodway wanted to start a church in Hewitt and asked me to come down and consider being the church planter. So I just want to send you greetings. I know most of you have no idea who I am, which is just as it should be. Uh, but I want to send along congratulations to you from myself, my family, Kathy, my wife, our first daughter Audrey, who was about a year old when we came to Hewitt, and we've since added 3 other children. One who was born while we were there in the Waco area, Allison, and then our 2 youngest who you've never met. But we are all doing well, and we offer you our congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. I'm Jeff Beckett. I'm your founding pastor, and I serve a church here in the Research Triangle Park area of North Carolina, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area in North Carolina. And I've been here for 14 years. The Lord's really been good to us. So congratulations on your 25 years, not just the church that you are or were in being founded. There were some heroes who really made it possible and overcame a lot of the mistakes and things I did wrong. But just congratulations on the church you are. Congratulations to your wonderful pastor, Billy Edwards. If you want to know the story, some of the details of the founding days, the earliest days of Brazos Meadows, you can keep the video running, and I will share with you the parts that I remember. And if not, then now's a good time to shut off the video and just know how deeply proud I am of you guys. So if you've got about 10 minutes, let me tell you the story. It goes like this. It was the spring of 1988. We were about to graduate seminary and got a phone call from Mike Toby at Woodway saying that Woodway was about to consider planting a church in Hewitt, that the previous year they had looked at it very closely and had 25 to 30 families interested in the project. And they had lost momentum and it hadn't happened. And they were trying to reignite everything. And he asked me to come down and consider being the church planter. My training was not in church planting, although I had pastored 3 years back in my hometown area as a college pastorate before I came to grad school at Fort Worth. But anyway, I jumped right on it. I was very excited about the possibility. And if 25 to 30 families were ready to get rolling, what a core group that would have been. But when we came down and actually boots on the ground, so to speak, none of the 25 to 30 families Mike referenced were any longer committed. I contacted every single one of them. The ones that were still present at Woodway no longer had a desire to be a part of a new church plant. And boy, that was the first thing that really was discouraging, and we just kind of threw plan A out the window. Said, okay, God, you've got something else in mind. This is going to be hard work, which the best things are. And so we began meeting on Wednesday nights in Woodway in a little room. And we just promoted it as come and ask your questions, come and explore if you have any interest, come and pray. And we had a prayer gathering every Wednesday night. I even did a real short little Bible study in the book of James during that period of time too. And by about 4 or 5 weeks of the Wednesday night gatherings, we had about 9 or 10 people who had kind of transitioned from interest and exploring to willing to really be part of a core group. Now, I know that doesn't sound like much of a core group, but it's what we had. And I went to Mike and I said, I know this is a lot smaller than you had envisioned and definitely than I had envisioned, but I think we should go for it. I think these people are really committed. And I think they're going to do what's required to make this thing happen. And so Mike was not adverse to risk, and he said, "I'm with you. Go for it." And so by now it was sort of mid to late-ish June of 1988. A couple of things happened in that transitional 2 or 3 weeks, transitioning out of just being a little prayer group meeting at Woodway to in early to mid-July starting to meet at a new site. One is that out of nowhere, a family at Woodway came and joined us the last week of our preparation time, right before we started meeting. The husband in that family, David, could do some music, and that really helped. My vision, my hope in planting the church was that it would be kind of a contemporary modeled church to offer an alternative to all the fairly traditional churches in the area, but that's just not what God gave us. The core group was older, traditional, missions-hearted, wonderful, solid people, and so I just released all of that. I just told God, I'm going to build the church you've put together instead of trying to impose my will on everything, and that's what I did. A couple of other things happened. That was a period of time there in late June when we picked the name Brazos Meadows. And I went through 20 or 30 trial names, didn't know what to do, wanted something kind of regional in nature rather than localized, and finally just kind of settled on Brazos Meadows because the property where we sort of assumed we would eventually purchase and locate kind of was a beautiful rolling green meadow, and so we just wound up being Brazos Meadows. I went to Mike and said, "What do you think?" And because I wasn't really sure, he said, "Yeah, that's great." And so with his enthusiasm, it became Brazos Meadows. Then my last Sunday at Woodway, I thought a really interesting thing happened. Winnie Bledsoe walked an aisle and grabbed my hand, and Mike was using me to sort of receive people at the invitation time every now and then in case someone wanted to come and talk about the mission. And Winnie Bledsoe came and took my hand, and 80 plus years old, she said, "At my age, I don't know what I can do, but I feel called by God to help you." And she was kind of weeping and emotional, and it was obvious that God's hand was on her to do this. And I didn't know what she could do either. I just said, "Welcome, we need you." And it turned out she sort of became an inspiration, as the other core members were. She was. And she knocked on a lot of doors at her age. That was incredible. She and Viola Killian, our other really senior adult member, they knocked on a lot of doors. And so now it's July. We have located a little place to meet on the main street in Hewitt, little independent Baptist church. They liked to have early service and then get out, and they rented the building to us. We would do Bible study and worship right after they left. And it was another many mistakes that I made. It was not a good place to start a mission start church. But God He kept overcoming all the mistakes I was making. There's another indication His hand was really on Brazos Meadows in getting it started. He really overcame a lot of my mistakes, but we had about 18 or 19 that first Sunday, counting a few children, and really were excited. Didn't have the budget to do mass mailings, or block parties, or rent out theaters, the kind of things that you would do today if you were planting a church. We just knocked on doors. I mean, that was all that we had. And in those days, you could still kind of get away with that. So I knocked on, I don't know how many doors. I'd knock on 50 doors on a day. And that next Sunday, no one from any of those houses would come, but 2 families from the other side of town would come, and I'd say, "God, what are you doing?" And he just would always remind me that I was working to plant his church, not vice versa. And that really helped me be sustained through that period of time. So we started meeting in about 2 weeks. The first family from the community came to start attending, and it was the Trice family, Keith and Pam. And we baptized that family a few weeks later. And really, it was so exciting. I had to clean out a baptistry that hadn't been used in probably 8 or 9 years, and boy, it was really dirty, but so exciting. We got to use that baptistry several times that first year. And I would just let you know something you may not know. You were really well known. Brazos Meadows was well known in state missions commission circles um, because no church that had had such a small core group had gotten traction and become self-supporting. Brazos Meadows was like self-supporting in 13 or 14 months of its existence, and no church had really done that, not with that small of a core group start. And they were sending me all kinds of little awards and plaques. And I don't know if some of our core group members remember that, but I'd come and I'd be so proud telling hey, you guys were the largest numerical increasing mission in the state of Texas this year. So the first couple of years, I was getting a lot of those kind of little things from the State Missions Commission. It was really cool. After we were going at it about 6 or 7 months, we finally were able to acquire that piece of property I mentioned early on, the rolling meadows, and about 6 acres, as I recall, and looked like a good future spot. We scheduled the Baptist retired builders to come. The budget for the whole thing was going to be like, $200,000 or something. It is incredible to think about nowadays, but and we poured the slab. Everything was going so smoothly, and then the rain started coming, and it rained and rained and rained for like a couple of weeks. And when the retired builders showed up, they couldn't even get their trailers on the property. The city hadn't passed our slab because it had rained every day. They couldn't really complete all their inspection work. And the retired builder leader, I remember he pulled me aside and he said, "We're probably going to have to leave. We got to have somewhere to put our trailers. We'll go to the next job. We can get back to you next year." And as a young pastor, I just said, "No, don't do that." I was in a panic almost, and I grabbed several of our core members, and I grabbed some of the retired builders, and we went into a little room that we had available, and we just started praying and calling out to God. And after our prayer time, I went down to the city and I said, you guys need to work with me. Our slab is okay. It's been there for 2 weeks. These men are here to build. If they leave, they're not going to be back for another year. You guys have to work with me here. And they graciously did. They let me sign a waiver saying that we wouldn't hold them responsible for the foundation. And the sun came out, the rain stopped, the winds blew. They were able the next day to pull their trailers up on the high part of the property, and we pulled out pallets we went and dragged a lot of pallets from a local business that donated them, and they kind of became the walkway between trailers and job site. Within a few days, we had the walls, we were in the dry. Another few days, interior walls finished. Around day 10 or so, 11, the steeple went up. There were reporters coming out to check it out. It was really exciting. Folks from the community would just come and stop and watch the building take place. It was really, really exciting. And what I remember about it all really is just how little by little it was such a struggle in the midst of it. But if you'd stop and then just look back over a period of 3 or 4 months, you'd see the incredible things God had done. But in the midst of it, it was agony. It was stressful. But in retrospect, it was always so fruitful and it was fulfilling. So I was there about 3 years. By the time I left, the church had about 100 people averaging in Bible study and a few more than that in worship. And God was just so good to overcome my mistakes of inexperience and poor judgment and stuff. That those early core members were so heroic. They were my heroes for the dedication they showed. And I want you guys to know that from the very beginning, God's hand was on you. So it doesn't surprise me at all the amazing church that you are today. Please know your founding pastor could not be more proud of you. And wish I could be there with you to celebrate. Congratulations. And from Kathy as well, my wife, you guys are in our thoughts. And congratulations for what you've accomplished. Never hesitate to shout if you're passing through this area. God bless.